What up, boys? Valorant God here, and today we're going to be talking about finding the best sensitivity for you in Valorant. Finding your best sensitivity is really important because aim is such a huge part of Valorant, and if you get your sense where it needs to be, you'll be hitting more shots and winning more games. So let's get started. Starting out with some ground rules, the first being, you're not going to want to copy someone else's sensitivity. You are you. Copying a pro's sense is not going to make you a pro. You need to figure out what works for you and practice it until you're better. The next thing is you're going to want to make sure you can do at the very minimum an 180-degree turn with your sense. Being able to turn 180 degrees in either direction gives you the full range of motion without having to pick up your mouse. And if anyone's ever coming up behind you, you can quickly flick to them and get a kill. While it may be possible to do a 360 with whatever sense you land on, it's never going to be necessary. Because say there's a target right here at this portal what I'm looking at, if I were to have to spin all the way around like this, I would be dead by the time my crosshair was back on him. So just keep that in mind. The next thing you're going to want to make sure is that with whatever sense you do land on, that you can make smooth and controlled movements with it. For example, you should be able to consistently accurately flick between targets. Your sense shouldn't be shaky or out of control. You should basically be able to put the crosshair exactly where you want it to go. Try following the target and slowly making a circle around it like this. If your sense is in a good spot, you should be able to do this smoothly. If you're falling out of control or can't keep your crosshair where you want it, your sense is probably the issue. So let's get into how to fix that. Valorant being a brand new game, if you're playing it, you probably transitioned over from some other FPS shooter. So I'm going to put this chart up on screen right now that I got from Reddit. It actually has conversions from a lot of other popular first-person shooter games. So if you came from another game and you already have your sense that you know and you're used to, this can convert it straight over to Valorant for you. So getting into it, the first thing you want to do when trying to find your right sense is start from scratch, use the sense you already have, or pick a pro player to use as reference. What you're going to want to do is open up the practice mode and head to this target over here, and pick one of the rings on the target, and shoot back and forth between either side of it, like so. Now you should consistently be getting your bullet holes within the boundaries of that ring, and if your sense is right, you should be able to accurately do this every time. But let me raise my sense for demonstration purposes. If my sense is too high and I try doing the same thing, like right here, notice my aim is way less in control here and I'm overshooting the rings every time. All my bullets are landing on the outside of those target rings that I wanted to hit. Now, if I were to do the same thing with too low of a sensitivity, my bullets would fall on the inside like this. I wouldn't be able to fully flick over there, and most of my bullets would land inside of the rings I was trying to hit. And now to apply this to your own sensitivity, what you're going to want to do is come over to the target like I said, and just keep adjusting accordingly until you get in that sweet spot. So if you're overshooting the target, lower your sense. If you're undershooting the target, raise your sense. And then you just rinse and repeat until your aim is on point. Now that covered flicking, but the next aspect of your aim you should work on is tracking. And by tracking, I mean keeping your crosshair on something as your character is moving around. And you do this a lot in Valorant when you're coming around corners to keep your crosshair placed right, like I'm showing in the video right here. You want to track along with it. And to make your sense the best to do so, I like to come over to this dock in the practice mode where the flying targets are, and strafe back and forth while keeping my crosshair locked on the target. Now you should be able to do this pretty well if your sense is right from the last exercise, but if you notice yourself not really being able to catch on like this right here, like if your crosshair is falling behind on the target, then you need to make some adjustments. If your character is strafing to the right and you find your crosshair hanging to the left, that's how you know that your sensitivity is too high. If your character is strafing left and you find your crosshair hanging too far to the right, you also know your sense is too high. If your character is strafing left and you find yourself falling behind with your crosshair on the right too much, that's how you know you need to raise your sense. And the same thing applies if your character's strafing right and you find yourself falling behind on the left side, you need to raise your sense too. So just keep repeating those 2 exercises, the target flicking and the tracking, and fine-tuning your sense along with it, and then when you're done, your aim should be in a much better spot than when you started. Everything should feel a lot nicer, more natural, and from this point on, just continue to practice and your aim will only get better from here. But that's going to go ahead and finish it off, so hopefully you guys can learn something from that and show your support. Let me know what you thought. Leave a like, leave a comment. Once again, everything helps. So thank you, boys.